The night I drove to check on my girlfriend's mother, I thought it would be a quick, ordinary act of kindness, the kind you do without expecting anything in return. I had no idea that by the time I reached my car again, my hands would be shaking on the steering wheel, my heart heavy with a question I never expected to carry, and my life quietly standing at the edge of change. If you've ever believed that small choices can alter the direction of a soul, this story will feel uncomfortably close to home. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet moments that reveal who we truly are, take a second right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this only matter if they reach hearts willing to listen. My name is Matthew, and I live in a small town in Ohio where winters linger and people still wave at strangers. I had been dating Hannah for almost 2 years, building what felt like a steady, honest future. She was warm, thoughtful, and fiercely loyal to her family. Her father had passed away years earlier, and her mother, Margaret, had been living alone ever since in the same old house that held decades of memories. Lately, Hannah had been worried. Margaret had sounded tired on the phone, distant in a way that felt heavier than loneliness. When Hannah left town for a work conference in Chicago, she asked me to check on her mom just to make sure she was okay. I agreed without hesitation, because that's what you do when you love someone. Margaret's house sat at the end of a quiet street, the porch light glowing like a tired eye against the cold evening. Inside, the air smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and old books. The house felt too large for one person, every room echoing with the absence of voices that once filled it. Margaret greeted me with a polite smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She looked smaller than I remembered, wrapped in a cardigan that seemed more about comfort than warmth. We sat in the kitchen, talking about simple things, the weather, Hannah's work, the neighbor's new dog. But beneath the surface, something fragile pulsed between us, unspoken and aching. As the evening stretched on, I noticed the little things. The unopened mail stacked neatly by the door, the way Margaret paused mid-sentence, as if she'd forgotten where she was going. The faint tremor in her hands when she lifted her tea. Grief doesn't always scream, sometimes it just quietly wears you down. I realized then that she wasn't just lonely, she was exhausted from carrying a life by herself. When it grew late, I stood up, ready to leave, telling myself I'd done what I came to do. Margaret walked me to the door, moving slower than before. That's when she looked at me, her eyes glossy with something she was trying very hard to hide, and asked if I could stay the night. Not in a dramatic way, not with desperation, but with a fragile honesty that stopped me cold. She said the house felt too quiet at night. She said she hadn't slept well in weeks. My first instinct was panic. I thought about Hannah, about how this might look, about lines you never cross. I thought about the rules we build to protect ourselves from misunderstanding. I also thought about the woman standing in front of me, someone's mother. Someone who had loved deeply and lost painfully, now asking for nothing more than the comfort of another human presence under the same roof. My mind raced, and for a moment I felt trapped between doing what was right and doing what was safe. I stepped outside onto the porch, breathing in the cold air, trying to steady my thoughts. This wasn't about temptation or betrayal. It was about responsibility and compassion. I texted Hannah, explaining the situation carefully, honestly, leaving nothing open to interpretation. I told her mom seemed unwell and scared of being alone at night, and that she had asked me to stay on the couch. I told her I would understand completely if she wasn't comfortable with it. The minutes waiting for her reply felt longer than the entire drive over. When my phone finally buzzed, my chest tightened. Hannah's message was simple but heavy with trust. She thanked me for being there. She said she trusted me. She said her mom had been struggling more than she let on. She told me to stay. I went back inside, setting clear boundaries for myself without needing to say them out loud. I took the couch in the living room, the TV humming softly as background noise. Margaret disappeared into her bedroom, but before she did, she thanked me in a voice that cracked just enough to reveal how much this meant. The house settled into a new kind of silence, one that felt less oppressive, less sharp. Sleep didn't come easily. My thoughts wandered through memories of my own mother, of nights when fear feels louder than reason. I realized how often we underestimate the power of simply being present. Not fixing anything, not offering grand solutions, just staying. Sometime after midnight, I heard Margaret moving in the kitchen. I sat up, concerned, but she was just making tea, her movements calmer than earlier. She sat at the table alone, and I stayed where I was, giving her space while still being there. In that quiet moment, I understood something important. Loneliness isn't always about being alone. Sometimes it's about feeling unseen in your pain. The next morning, sunlight poured through the windows and the house felt different, lighter. Margaret looked rested, her smile more genuine as she thanked me again. She told me stories about her life, about meeting her husband in church, about raising Hannah, about the fear of becoming invisible as the years pass. I listened, really listened, and in doing so, I felt something in myself soften. When Hannah returned later that day, she hugged her mother longer than usual. She looked at me with gratitude and something else, something deeper, trust. Strengthened, rather than shaken. We didn't need to say much. The moment spoke for itself. That night didn't change my relationship in a dramatic, cinematic way. There was no scandal, no betrayal, no secret. What it changed was my understanding of love. Love isn't just about romance, it's about showing up when it's inconvenient. It's about choosing compassion over fear. It's about recognizing that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay. Before this story ends, take a moment and comment below one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. As time went on, Margaret began reaching out more, not from desperation, but from connection. Hannah and I grew closer, bonded by shared honesty and respect. And I learned that integrity isn't proven when things are easy, but when they're complicated. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the quiet power of kindness and the importance of being there for others, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps stories like this reach people who may be sitting alone tonight, wondering if anyone would stay. Sometimes, staying doesn't change the world. Sometimes, it just changes one night, one heart, one future. And sometimes, that's more than enough.